Welcome, everybody. It's been a minute, Jessica, and I know you've been flying all over and traveling, and there's been
hmm
so much AI going on for this month's show. It will be a weekly, and we're kind of still finding our spot as we're doing
hmm
interviews and reviewing things. When you told me about the Fintech Meetup you're going to in Vegas next week, I'm like, wow, this looks amazing. Because sometimes you think of Meetup and it's, smaller group, let's say. But this is
hmm
pretty cool. So how did this get on your radar?
I went looking for it. I I had such a phenomenal experience at Money 2020, and that's a very similar framework to this, but bigger,
Mhm.
very similar space. But what I really love about being in environments like this is that I can hear about what's changing in the finance space, the payment space, the banking as a service, crypto, value as a service, models that are starting to come to the forefront or I believe are going to start replacing some of the current day systems. And I find that going is a very valuable experience for understanding what's coming to the space and being able to speak on it. So that's how it got on my radar. And it just looks amazing because some of my favorite speakers are going to be going to this event, and I can't say no to listening to them.
Okay, nice. And we'll go over the speakers in a minute, but it was
Mhm.
interesting here when I saw this picture of the exhibit hall where they had one-on-one meetings.
Mhm.
um, just from a logistical standpoint, this is very impressive that the organizers will be able to put this together. Because even just getting those tables into this convention center is a nightmare, both in the bill you get as well as, doing it.
Mhm.
So I love that. And I guess, is that just setting up meetings? It almost looked like interviews.
Well, excuse me, frog. So what I noticed with the setup, which I find really fascinating, is that there's speakers, there's panels, and then there's also time set aside each day for smaller meetups, like 15-minute quick chats. And I got really excited because I made sure to set my alarm early the day that that opened to ensure that I could get my submissions in on time
Hmm.
and see what kind of meaningful connections I got. Because one of the nice things I noticed is that it shows both what they a company does or a representative does and also what they're looking for. So for
Love it.
example, if I'm interested in creator economy, I'm definitely going to go ahead and request meetings with people that do creator economy because I think that's going to be a very fascinating evolution if it's done right. So I
Love it.
definitely
So let's
like
get in.
being able to grab. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's great. Let's get into it. Because I know that your internet went down, so you're powering through on your phone. But
I
that's
am.
good. That just says nothing can stop us here. You can see my screen, right? With the
I can see your screen,
program. Okay, I got some weird notice.
sort of. I might have to lean in closer because I'm a little bat blind,
Got it. All right, well,
but
make it a little bigger here. So a few things. First of all, 4 days. So it looks like 3.5 days. That's
mhm.
impressive.
Yeah.
Uh, JP Morgan Chase kicking it off on payments.
hmm
Uh, Bill, Alloy.
hmm
These are just some great companies here. All should be probably have been Witty sponsor partners or something with Witty at some point. But
hmm
I think these will be great networking. So you've been to this show before, this exact one, a fintech
I've not been to
last
this exact one. I haven't been to this one, but for example, some of the things I did to prep for CES come in handy, such walking early ahead, looking to see what other events are going on surrounding the event as well, is also really helpful.
Jessica is breaking up a
And
little
just
bit.
being ready.
So here's
Sorry.
that's okay. It'll click back in, I'm sure. Yeah,
I'm sure.
interesting panels. I know one of the panelists, but it'll be interesting to see if anybody else gets a word in on that panel. Just kidding. Maybe I'm not. Um, So good. And I love too just the venue because the Venetian, you can walk in from the hotel, there's great restaurants. You really don't
Mhm.
have to leave to
Mm-mm.
go anywhere.
No,
Uh,
which is fantastic.
I mean, this typhoon looks interesting. Day two, more of the
Mhm.
same. I mean, more, not more of the same, like it's a negative. It just seems like there's some amazing things going on. Now, some
Mhm.
of the speakers, but let's jump over to speakers because I think
Yeah.
there were some cool things there. So
Mhm.
I did see the woman from the blockchain foundation. Was it the
Please.
blockchain foundation? Yes, Cleve. That was interesting. I
Mhm.
think you mentioned you saw her at Money 2020.
I did. And what I found fascinating about her panel was she was actually discussing how crypto helps marginalized communities, which is something that isn't talked about very much. But it does beg the question, what happens when you have potential customers that don't fit the guidelines of traditional finance, that are just outside of approvable range, that may have issues establishing a traditional bank account? So it's really fascinating to see how it helps underserved communities. What I also enjoyed is there's quite a few really great speakers. So these panels are going to be exciting.
Right, Nigel from QED. I think Nandika
Mm-hmm.
used to work at QED.
Mm-hmm.
Our Hall of Famers, Pamela, forgot her last name. Oops, she is the founder of QED.
Mm-hmm.
Movie Hall of Famer. So that was interesting. And then MasterCard, Visa, it seems like they're all here. Michelle Meyer.
Exactly.
So there's some
Ex-
great potential partners for you, Jessica. Maybe one of these companies will be lucky enough to engage you and have you work for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think your background in early warning is very interesting as one of the many things you've done. Just because they seem to have a kind of a mediocre solution in a much needed space, I would say. I don't know if you can comment on any of this, but
I wouldn't say that. Just think of it as there are solutions that we have for today. The reason I go to these events is to hear what the solutions are going to be for tomorrow. Because, and it doesn't matter what space you're in when it comes to fintech, whether it's payment or value add, whether it's a accounting firm, whether it's any kind of financial business, what you're working with today may not always be ideal, but it's the best you have for your resources available, right? Well, I go to hear what's coming up in the chain, what's going to be something that solves these problems in a different way. And
yeah,
that's why I'm very excited to go to this event, to actually hear where some of the transitions are going, where some of the legislation may be going. So it's really fascinating to learn about this ahead.
love it. I think Equifax should be good
Mm,
to look at too. Their CEO left last year to go run IDG. So I'm sure there's just a lot of movement there. And I'd
mm.
say probably anybody. Oh, Kurtika's speaking here. I guess that would make sense. She just moved to Vegas. Did you know that?
I did. I saw her on there and I'm excited to see her and shake her hand because I love what she's doing in this space. So I enjoy that a lot.
Right. It looks like she's representing her capital company instead of Varix, which is the
Mhm,
chain company. Interesting.
mhm.
Wow, so much here and so many speakers. No wonder why it's 4 days long. Did anybody
Oh,
else
yeah,
stand
it's
out?
fantastic.
Yes, for sure.
Actually, it's a little funny, but the CEO of one of the mortgage companies I worked for is actually speaking as well, which
Amazing.
I thought was fascinating. Yeah. So it's a great way to understand and keep very well informed as the space.
Totally. Do you have any particular AI workflows you use to prep for conferences?
I do multiple ones, so I've been doing a very similar process to what Brad talked about today on brain juice. We're using the deep research.
Okay, Jessica has left us with her internet that's down in her part of the world right now. I'm sure she'll be back, and there she is. Jessica,
Go.
that's all good. So what were you saying now about your AI
I
workflow?
told body. What I've been is using the deep research options and looking through and targeting not just what my strengths are, but what I'm fascinated about to really deep dive into how the most effective use of my time because you don't just have the speakers and the panels, but there's also meaningful engagements that happen and
Right.
networking that happens. And I want to make sure that fully prepared for really great conversation, not just to observe and listen, but
Okay, Jessica's gone again, but using deep research, everybody, is great tool when you're going to these sessions. As Jessica mentioned, kind of figuring out which speakers are in alignment, then even just going a little deep on each speaker. What are some unique things about them,
Mhm.
right? Anyway,
Exactly. And then
this
also
is
bringing
great.
my
Attendee
my
Hub,
best friend.
startup pitch. They've got it all here. So I'm excited about this. And then I think,
They
Jessica,
do.
bringing some of these bringing some of this into the witty community that happens, like putting on these conferences are a big feat. And it's great that they
They
do
are.
it. Even, so if you can continue these conversations in a virtual environment, and
Mhm.
as we're starting the roundtables at conferences, right? And
Mhm.
maybe it's not just doing these roundtables at the event, but then also starting a monthly roundtable around that topic. We do it witty. Just kind of
Mhm.
came to mind that maybe that's something we should look at too as we flush it out.
That wouldn't be a bad idea because I love continuing the conversations because it doesn't just end at the conference. It
Right,
goes into, okay, well, this is about to happen or this is happening now. This just got released. It's really fantastic to be able to listen to those.
totally. And annual events, right? I mean, now what used to happen with between like think of CES where we were last
Mhm.
year. What's going to happen between now and the next CES is like 5 years of time a few years ago, right? So it's like,
Yes,
how do we keep these things going? But anyway, we will talk
absolutely.
about that, everybody. Thanks for listening in. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day. Look for more things on WITI.com. Come to the think tanks, the AI. We'll do another follow up when Jessica gets back because she will be taking notes. And then we're going to talk about the top
I have
five.
my pod for notes. All right. I use the modern tech.